we're going to go through some slides and talk about nervous systems, basically. Some of you will have heard me talk about this a lot if you've been here. Some of you may be familiar with nervous systems, and some of you may have just heard lots of speak about it on Instagram and TikTok and not really be very sure what it is. So we're really going to start from the beginning, from the basics, on nervous systems and stress and horses. And I'm going to give you a bit of a guide to Tula Vida towards the end too, and we'll go out and see the herd who are out in the field at the moment as well. I'm going to let somebody else in. Here we go. And as I said, please feel free to ask questions or raise your hands. I'll try and keep an eye on that. So take a second and just look around and notice where you are. So I'm sitting here in my office. I've got my laptop and my screen and some talking notes. Take a deep breath. Let yourself sit where you are and really get comfortable where you are. And this is just the beginning of noticing. I have a body, I have a nervous system, I have breathing, and actually even microseconds like that becoming present count in what we're going to talk about. So it's a lot of times not hours and hours of meditating that we need to do. It's just these micro moments of actually arriving here. And so think about, if you're trying to multitask, what thing do you want to be present with? Do you want to be present with this? Do you want to multitask? No good, no bad. We'll be here for probably about an hour. So yeah, lay back, listen, engage, however works for you. And first of all, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. If I can get the slides to turn, I am at least. Okay, great. This is the correct slide. So I'm Sally, as you can see here. And this is Minna, the horse, and Eric, who is a co-founder of Tula Vida. Tula means balance in Sanskrit, and Vida means life in Spanish. So we very much have the idea of a balanced life here at Tula Vida. And so we have 17 rescue horses. We have a foundation and rescue horses, and we have 85 acres. We're off the grid. And everything here is really designed with nervous systems in mind. So we run retreats and experiences for people to come here and feel like they're stopped just coping and surviving, but to actually feel like themselves again. So when I say here on the slide, change the world one nervous system at a time, it's not just a saying, it's something we really believe in. Because the state that I'm in and what I'm putting out into the world affects other people, even in a small way, even the people I meet day to day. And so the ripple effect of actually becoming aware of nervous systems and doing something with them, we believe, is huge. And by doing something with my own nervous system, I am impacting the world. Sometimes we can feel a bit, overwhelmed or powerless with what's happening in the world. Well, I think of it as changing the world one nervous system at a time. And it starts with me. And it starts with you guys arriving here. So even in this presentation, you are becoming more aware of your nervous system, which is already starting the journey. So this is what we're going to talk about. What is stress, really? And it's not the version that we just kind of brush off or talk about necessarily. Why you might be stuck in it, and how horses can actually teach us about nervous systems. They teach us a lot more than that. So maybe by the end, you'll understand nervous systems a little differently. And for those of you that have heard some of this before, a couple of people on the call have already been to retreats here, there might be some deeper layers or some reminders of how you can return to yourself. And we'll talk about really what that means as well. So first of all, look at this picture and dive in. If you've been here, you'll recognize it because it's the view from here. And look at the amazing sky that nature painted for us. And imagine sitting on a deck somewhere watching a sunset, and notice if anything changes in your body. Maybe your shoulders drop, maybe your breath slows, maybe nothing happens. Maybe you're sitting there holding your breath and your thoughts racing. That's information too. But a lot of times when we look at a picture of nature, our system relaxes a little bit. And our nervous system is responding to a signal. And we're going to talk about exactly why that happens. So this is Imperio. I'll introduce you to our horses as we go. And he's telling us and reminding us, you have a nervous system. And I have to say, it's something that I've learned just through doing this work in the last 10 years or so. It's not something, I mean, I probably learned about it in biology class at school, but I don't really remember it. So even the fact that we're becoming aware that we have a nervous system, and what is it actually doing? It's running in the background all of the time, scanning, assessing, and responding constantly to things that I may or may not be aware of. So its job is to detect threats. And when it detects threats, to help me survive and adapt for the future so that I stay alive. It's literally keeping me alive, like a smoke detector. It's going to react when there's smoke. It's also going to help me relax when everything's safe and connect with other people. So the question becomes, is my nervous system working with me? First, am I aware of it, which I really wasn't? And now that I am, is it working with me? Or does it feel a bit like the weather? So it's always, unpredictable, and it's never quite doing what I want it to. The anxiety or the overwhelm, or even the kind of checking out or the disconnect. A lot of times that's because my brain is trying to control everything and isn't working together in partnership with my nervous system. So this is the simplest way I know how to explain nervous systems. It's like in the car. It's like having the gas pedal, the accelerator, for those of us that call it that in England, and the brake pedal. And you need both. So you need the gas to speed up, to move, to run, to fight from danger. You need the brake to slow down, to stop, to get out of trouble. And you need to speed up and you need to slow down to go around corners. So the idea is having a flexible and resilient nervous system. The gas pedal is called the sympathetic part of the nervous system, the adrenaline, the cortisol, the activation, the blood moving, everything ready to actually do something. And then the brake pedal, the parasympathetic part of the nervous system, slowing down, resting and digesting my food. So you're moving between activation that I need to get things done and settling that I need to be able to relax. So both of them are necessary. Both of them are great. And the goal is not to not have one, not have another, check out from one thing, numb another thing. The goal is to be able to move between the gas and the brake, just like you would in the car. Activation and settling, we call it. And horses, this is Cosmo here, observing and interacting with horses is actually a great way to understand nervous systems. Horses are the best teachers of nervous systems that I've ever found, because a horse will naturally listen to their nervous system. They're constantly sensing and responding and going back to grazing. I'll talk a little bit more about going back to grazing in a moment. So this is healthy nervous systems in action. You can see a line of the horses moving. You've got Miela on the left, and then that's Ro, and then Mo and Cosmo and Hitana. So they're very present in the moment. You can see facial expressions and body language between them. They are constantly highly attuned and sensing their environment, being flexible and responsive to actually respond and move through. Do I need to run? Or can I eat? Can I rest? Or do I need to protect myself from something? So like a car, moving, slowing down, speeding up, and not going off the road, their nervous systems are very sophisticated and working in balance. So watching horses can show us what we're aiming for, because they don't have the thinking brain that takes them out of the present moment all of the time. And we'll talk a bit more about what that can do. So this is Minna, and he's showing you nervous system in action here. So when a horse notices something new, you can see his head is up, his neck is arched, he's looking off in the distance. What is that? Is it a threat? He's going to pause, he's going to sniff, he's going to assess danger. So his system is not in rest, digest, grazing, relaxed, tuned in. His system is moving into alert, like your foot hovering over the gas pedal. Do I need to speed up to get out of this dangerous spot that I might be in? So his nervous system is preparing him for action in case it's needed. So this is the scanner, this is the threshold. What is happening here? Is there a threat? Do I need to move? Do I want to move? You get the adrenaline, the cortisol, the nervous system activates, preparing him for action if he needs to. So if it feels safe, here's Imperio again, outside one of the buildings here. If it feels safe, okay, no, it was just one of the dogs. He comes off the gas pedal. His breathing slows down, everything settles, and he's going to go back to grazing. So his nervous system is going to be feeling safe, and it's in a regulated state. So we call it dysregulated when you're really deep in fight, flight, freeze response. But here it's a look, assessing, and then everything's fine, going back to grazing. If it feels dangerous, this is Hitana looking out over the fields. What is that out there? Is it the dog Frack or is it a puma? Right? If it feels dangerous, heart rate increases, breathing increases, the adrenaline, the cortisol, all of the different necessary reactions the nervous system is going to instigate in the body so that you have the energy and the incentive and the ability to run. So depending on what the threat is or what her nervous system is picking up, she might move towards it, she might run away, she might freeze, or she might stay scanning in that kind of hyper alert, hyper vigilant way. So you may have heard these expressions: fight, flight, freeze, submit, shut down. I'm going to do another, when I was putting together the slides for this and the idea for this, there's so much good stuff to talk about in nervous systems. So this is kind of a part one, and we'll talk more about it in the next webinar in part two, and talk a bit more about the fight, flight, freeze, submit, shut down responses that we see. But we're going to do an introduction to them today. So the idea is, the problem is not that we have this response. In fact, she needs to have this response, because if it really is a lion, she needs to be able to run. She needs to stay alive. The issue is when we get stuck here. Imagine if she spent all day just scanning her environment, and we do get horses come, rescue horses, that are in that state of hypervigilance that really just can't relax. Typically they're very skinny because they never actually get to eat and digest their food because they're constantly feeling unsafe. So the goal is to be able to look around. What is the danger? Is there a lion? Run, do whatever you need to do, and then go back to grazing. This is Ro and Cosmo here. So a horse is very good at going back to grazing. They'll do something, they'll shake, they'll roll, they yawn, they'll let go of the stress of whatever happened, and then they'll eat. Very efficient survival response, so that they can digest their food, they can rest and lay down, they can play, they can connect. This is two horses mutual grooming, scratching each other and connecting. And this is a healthy nervous system movement. So we want the activation, we want to be ready for the threats, and we want to let it go and relax afterwards. So stress is a lot of times this nervous system reaction. So we see danger and we're wondering what we should do about it, and we can get stuck there in that stress of just feeling stressed. What it is our nervous system telling us that we're not safe for some reason, and we'll talk a little more about that. So the goal is to recover afterwards, and we need both to survive and to thrive. This is what we've lost touch with a little bit, to actually be able to recover and go back to grazing. Okay, so this is a chart which a lot of people, we talk about it when you're here on retreat, and we go into this quite a lot and practice it with the horses. But this is a chart that people tell me is really, really helpful. And basically the green at the bottom, where you see it says social engagement, this is where you feel safe. You're calm, you're grounded, You're in the present and you feel safe. And then you see the black line, the curve that goes up in the loop. Something happens and you see or think or believe that there's danger. So there's an activation, potentially movement towards, movement away, fight or flight reaction, or you move into the red of really thinking, oh, I feel helpless. You know, I'm shut down, I'm frozen, I'm checking out. This is too much. I don't know what to do. And a lot of times we can get stuck in the yellow or in the red. And if the yellow gets too much, a lot of times we'll go into the red. Or if we're in the red, we cannot think our way out, even into the yellow. So the goal is not to not have the yellow, not to not have the red, but to be able to go back to the green, to go back to grazing again and again and again. And that's what the horses do. And the route to do that is something that we can learn from horses. So horses have the same survival responses as us, but the key difference is when the threat passes, they release it, let it go, and come back to safety. Whereas we can get stuck there. We can keep ourselves there. And we can even stop noticing. You know, we checked in a little bit at the beginning of like, oh, where am I? What am I doing? I can breathe, I can sit, I can be present. Even noticing that, we often don't do. I'm definitely guilty of that. I sit at my computer for hours, kind of disappear down the screen. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, I can barely move my shoulders and I haven't breathed deeply or drunk a glass of water for about 3 hours. Oh, I'm just used to being in that kind of run, get things done on the to-do list so much that I don't even notice it. Now I'm fortunate I can go outside and there's horses and nature and I can go back into that green. But this is the awareness we're building. Even moments of touching back into that green actually refills and restores the nervous system. Keeps it in that resilient and flexible nervous system that we're looking to build. So here's this idea of a window of tolerance. Everyone has a window of tolerance. And so there's a range within your window of tolerance. Inside it, you're balanced and calm. You can be connected with people in the conversation. You can be present. You feel present. This is where you have access to your brain. You can actually think. You can think clearly. You can create solutions and ideas. You can problem solve. You can scan, like we saw Minna earlier, and have a look. You can choose how to respond rather than just running in a panic or reacting really defensively. And everyone's window is different. We all have individual, unique nervous systems. So outside of my window of tolerance, I'm going to be reactive or on edge. I'm kind of expecting danger to come in or constantly stuck in scanning or hypervigilance. Or maybe I'm just overwhelmed and shut down, like everything's too much. My brain's gone numb. Or I can't think straight, or I'm overthinking. Because everything's built up. That stress is built up. I got stuck in the yellow or in the red, and I'm outside of my window of tolerance. So the first thing is to notice when my nervous system is in that state, I really can't problem solve or think or have a meaningful connecting conversation with somebody because my whole system is telling me you're going to die. It's a survival response, even if the reality of what it's reacting to is not a complete death threat. So we talked about fight, flight, freeze, submit, shut down. Just a moment to pause and think about which response do you think is most familiar to you? Usually we have defaults or a primary response in our nervous system. And so mine is actually my go-to is a freeze or a shutdown. And in culture, in English culture, you know, be seen and not heard, keep calm and carry on. So I go very quiet, very still, or I want to disappear. And I actually discovered this. This is how I discovered all this work with horses. I was on a horse riding holiday. So I was a corporate lawyer in London and horses were my escape. So I would, without realizing it, top up my nervous system with a week of horse riding holidays every year. Didn't have the nervous system awareness or language, but essentially that was what was keeping me going. And so I had an experience. I was on a horse riding holiday and the owner had started doing these kind of horse experiences. So I had an experience with a horse called Beauty. I was asking her to move. I was asking her to do something, and she wouldn't move. And I got stuck. And it was horrifying. So I stopped. I just wanted to fall through the floor, disappear, shame, wanted to hide, had no idea what to do. What Beauty did is she came in to me and put her head into my chest. And I really wanted to cry, but crying was, again, not comfortable, not safe, not accepted. It wasn't what you did. She stayed there with me, just stayed there with me until actually I could allow a few tears to escape and I could relax and breathe and come back to being myself again. And then I could think, then I could talk, then I could say to the facilitator even what was going on again. She basically came in and co-regulated, we call it, helped my nervous system come back into the green from where it had gone into the red. And that was the first time I really saw my own pattern. I saw what I do when I get stressed. If I felt unsure, I'd go quiet, kind of shut down, numb all my feelings. Literally had no awareness or permission to feel any of the feelings. So yeah, just an invitation to see, where do you think you go when stress is building up? Sometimes it's fight, it's reaction. It's like, oh, this traffic or whatever it is. And how do you know? What's your body doing? You're very welcome to share if you would like to, or type something into the chat, or just make a mental note. I'm also aware, being on Zoom, particularly when we don't all know each other, and speaking out loud or typing something in, it's vulnerable. Maybe your nervous system goes, ooh, no, I don't want to share. Notice that. Makes a lot of sense. So why this happens? Horses live attuned to their environment. This is Cosmo here. And so for them, it really is a real physical threat. And for our ancestors, when they lived out in caves or out in their natural environment, it was a real threat. Our nervous system was reacting to keep us alive. But now we've created houses and a lot of structures and things that keep us safe. So a lot of the threats that our nervous system is detecting is actually social or emotional threats. And our nervous system reacts as if it's a survival threat. So, oh, thank you. Christina said, I need to go into the woods. Yes, exactly. Get me back to something that feels good. Makes a lot of sense, and actually is a great survival strategy. How do I get my nervous system to shift? So the social or emotional threats we experience can feel like a life threat. Our brain doesn't consciously think they are, but our nervous system is reacting, fight, flight, freeze, submit, shut down, to some of these things. So I get an email and it has a deadline and I don't know what to do. My heart rate increases. My brain goes into overdrive. Maybe I'm thinking about it. Maybe I'm not sleeping about it, for example. It feels like a survival threat because actually disconnection from people, which could be getting it wrong, not doing it good enough, not achieving. Connection is necessary for survival as humans. We're not herd animals, but we are social animals. So at some level, any threat of disconnection, real or imagined, can trigger this nervous system reaction. Someone's facial expression, that connection where you say something and they just look at you blankly. There's a lot of studies been done on that. There's a great study, what's it called? The blank face experiment, I think, with a mother and a baby, where she has a blank facial expression and the baby just, nervous system kicks off, the baby kind of panics. Because we need that engagement, that interaction to feel safe. Our nervous system is actually wired to look at all the faces around them and feel judged or feel safe. So my nervous system can get activated through facial expressions or a thought. How will I get all this done? What if I can't do it? Maybe you can even feel that. It's like that sense, familiar sense of panic or activation. At some level, our nervous system getting activated is great because it's giving us the energy or the incentive to get it done. The issue is when we get stuck in it and our nervous system pattern becomes this, oh, well, I'm not sure I can do this. So do I need to react angrily to the person who gave it to me? Or hide, perhaps, put my head in the sand because it feels too scary? And underlying a lot of this stuff can be beliefs. If I believe that I'm not good enough, then when I walk into a room, how do I feel? I don't believe I'm as good as everyone else in the room. Some level, that feels really unsafe. My nervous system is having a reaction. None of this is bad. What we're trying to do is increase awareness. It's like giving us the secrets to understanding our own unique individual nervous system so that we can do something with it, so that we can build some tools to actually do something with it. And with horses is my best advice for place to do it. So what is regulation or safety in the nervous system? And a lot of these apps and mindfulness, and people are talking about, how do I be calm all the time? Or, I keep getting stressed, or I'm still reacting to this thing and I want life to be rainbows and unicorns. That is not the goal, and that is not regulation, actually, because a healthy nervous system still reacts. You still want that adrenaline to come to help you get the thing done, to reply to the email. Or sometimes you do, feel anxious about something, and there's information in that for you. So we all have these reactions and we want the reactions, but the goal is to be able to move through them and go back to grazing. Like Minna here, and Imperio and Cosmo, in that moment, they're fully aware of themselves and each other. They're not trapped in survival mode, so they can eat, they can rest. They can choose their response. Do I need to run right now? Or can I hang out with my friend and eat? Because then we actually have rest and digest. We have recuperation of our cells. We have sleep. These are actually things we need to stay alive, just as we need to run from the lion, or answer the emails. That you want a balance of the doing and the going back to grazing and the being. So going back to grazing again and again is really something we say a lot here. And what we're experiencing in retreats and teaching is that idea of how do humans go back to grazing again and again? How do we be more like horses? This is those of you that know me know this. This is my goal in life, is just to be as horse-like as I possibly can. So it's a lifelong journey, I think. So what does it feel like? How do I know when I'm talking about window of tolerance? When I'm in my window, it's really important to also get to know that. We just did a lot of work the last 5 days. We just had a retreat with actually getting to know what it feels like to be in the green, because then I can navigate back there. Going back to grazing, when I'm in grazing, what does that feel like? So I know I'm safe and I have access to all of myself. So I'm aware of my body and my breathing and my heart rate. I can think clearly, don't have racing thoughts or a need to do something, a must or a should. That's a nervous system reaction of survival. I want to do something or I choose to do something, I may or I may not. That comes from a place of safety and a green nervous system. I can think clearly, I can problem solve and connect with other people. And as we talked about, I can rest and digest, I can sleep, I can play. If I'm really stressed about how am I going to get all this stuff done, then I don't let myself play. But actually, it's a really important part of life and survival as well. And able to feel my emotions without drowning in them. It's again something that we practice here, because a lot of us are taught just to completely disconnect from our emotions, and that's a survival strategy. I certainly was. Being English, emotions are inconvenient, and if they come up, you just shut them off. And then your brain is trying to shut them off, but your body's still feeling them. Guess what? So you actually have to dissociate and disconnect, which again to your system does not feel safe. So what your system wants is for the brain, the body, the emotions, everything to be working together, to be connected. So how can I feel an emotion and not panic? Allow myself to feel it without thinking I'm going to drown. And that is a tool and a practice. It's not something that a lot of us just come with or grew up with. So body awareness matters here because the body doesn't lie to you. The body's often the first signal. You know, my brain may say, even my face, I'm fine. How many of you have said that? Yeah, fine. You know, but your body is either completely numb or having its own reaction inconveniently, heart racing, you know, the breath has gone really shallow or disappeared or sped up. You know, maybe there's heat somewhere, maybe you're sweating, maybe you get really cold. So learning to notice the sensations can help us catch what's happening in our nervous system before we're in a full-blown reaction to something. Because if we start noticing what activates my nervous system, we can start doing something with that before I'm suddenly, you know, one small thing happens. I don't know, I drop a glass of water and it's like, wow, the world ended. Right? It's not about the glass of water. It's about the 50 things that probably happened before that affected your nervous system. And your body was probably telling you about it. So we can work with the thoughts, the emotions, the perspective. We can use mindfulness tools to help us regulate the nervous system and manage our energy differently. But it's very hard to think your way out of it. It's very hard to think your way out of a nervous system state while you're in it. And that is where we do a lot of work in retreats, because your brain might tell you, stop reacting, stop being silly. What's wrong with you? It's fine. It doesn't help, really. It doesn't work. So little exercise without changing anything. Just notice if you have any tension in your shoulders, maybe your jaw, your chest, your stomach. Are you breathing? Are you breathing deep? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. So before I asked that, your body was already telling you something. And when we drop in and notice it, then we can shift something if we want to. And most of us have learned to completely override that signal and to tune things out. So for me, I learned all about dysregulation through the horse work and through studying the horses. And I realized I had these specific patterns, like I mentioned earlier, which might be checking out and just numbing myself, frankly, checking out from emotions, from body sensations, or my mind going completely blank while my heart was racing. Oh, it's a nervous system reaction. Okay. Well, you know, or the opposite of my making lists, not sleeping, you know, my body being tense, having to get started. Oh, it's a nervous system reaction, which is actually really empowering, because then I can do something with my nervous system reaction and potentially have more access to my brain, to thinking and to connecting or to working something out and feeling better about things, rather than just, I have to do more on the to-do list, or I have to go and watch Netflix and eat a pint of ice cream to get over it. So once I could name it and notice it, everything started to change for me. And it's very empowering because you can learn it yourself. And you can start learning about your own nervous system and do something with that and practice it. You know, you don't always have to be doing a retreat or doing a class. Once you get the basics down and you know what you're looking for, you can really work with it. So tune into the sunset here. This is our yoga deck. Imagine you're leaning on the bar and just looking out here, and just imagine the feeling of peace and awe and wonder that might settle in to your system. And getting to know that state and what brings you here is some of the work. So why do we get stuck in stress? If we know all these clues and secrets, you know, why do I still get stressed and why do I still get stuck there? Well, when I'm outside of my window of tolerance, I actually can't process things. So if I don't notice I'm out of my window of tolerance, I keep trying and it keeps me stuck there in a sense. And I actually have lost access to the part of the brain that lets me reason or find a solution or create the thing that I'm trying to create, or feel the connection that I really, really want to feel. So I'm in survival responses. My system is telling me this is not safe. You need to survive. And I'm not listening to it. I'm trying to carry on. And guess what? When I ignore it like that, it says, well, I need to scream even louder. So it screams even louder. And then I'm like, well, now I need to carry on even more. So actually coming back down and building that habit helps you stop getting stuck in that I need to stay alive. You start looking at, well, why does the system think it needs to stay alive right now? What can I do with that? And those are other tools that we'll teach you. How do I notice it, not judge it, and say, oh, thank you for trying to keep me alive. Let's work with this. Let's do something different. Some survival strategies. You might recognize some of these behaviors. People pleasing. So when you're just completely ignoring yourself and trying to keep everyone else happy, you're trying to keep connection because that feels safe. The trouble is, if it's dependent on whether somebody else is happy with you or not, when they're not, you've got nothing. You're just in a panic and you have to work even harder to please them. There's no internal felt sense of safety. Same with staying busy. I'm just going to get stuff done. There's always going to be stuff to get done, and you can't take a break. And if I have a need and that feels dangerous because I might need to relax and take time off, well then I can't relax. I always have to be achieving and doing. So it can be really effective and have definitely got me where I am today, not to be judged. It's just, what if I could go back to grazing in between some of this stuff? What if I didn't have to stay in these survival strategies? And modern life is not designed really for nervous systems. Everything's increased so quickly. If anyone can relate to this lady, I certainly can. In fact, now that I'm looking at it, I actually have yellow Post-its all around my screen, although not covering the screen. But there's a lot of information bombarded. There's a lot of stimulation. Productivity is definitely rewarded, and achievement and doing things. And even being stressed and busy is a way that we connect with people. So we have this kind of sensory overload a lot of time. And our ancestors out in the wild didn't have that kind of threat all of the time. So our nervous systems evolved to get us to run from the lion, or the thunderstorm when we needed to. But there weren't these constant threats or beliefs or information or stimuli that come in. They just weren't there. And so our nervous system actually hasn't evolved to be able to process them and deal with them, which is one of the reasons why, we can not judge ourselves, but notice, there are a lot of things coming into my system. It makes sense that it doesn't feel safe. And going into the woods, for example, going into nature, like Christina said, that is where my nervous system gets cues of actual safety, the chirping of the birds, the rainforest soundtracks that help you sleep, things like that. Our nervous system is being cued by this kind of thing towards safety, just by arriving. So horses live in this environment. They haven't got the emails and the text messages and the screens to take them out. Their nervous systems are responding and living in this kind of a state. And it's a felt experience in your body. It's biological before your brain even kicks in. So horses can actually teach you these things. What does this feel like in you? The activation or the settling? It's not a concept. It's an actual felt experience. That's the difference. I can talk to you now and you're increasing your awareness and you're learning things, and that's an amazing starting point. And you can do the apps and you can go out in the woods. When you're with horses, you get that felt sense that actually they shift things and you get to know it in your body. And then what brings you back to that state again and again, you get to practice it and experience it. And the horses will give you real-time feedback because they respond to your actual state. So if I walk out there smiling, saying I'm fine, I'll get a different response from a horse, actually. It's not performance, it's not words, it's not the hat I'm wearing. This is Eric with Minna here. As I'm in the green, my horse is going to let me know. Softening the head, coming in closer, connecting in a different way, relaxing with us. Or, like I told you the story about with Beauty, I really wasn't in the green, I was in the red. She came in and actually helped me get to the green. She put her head in my chest until I relaxed. I felt so connected and supported and safe with her there that my whole body could relax. And I realized what had happened. Oh, I was in this state and now I'm in this state. She was co-regulating, we call it. So the horses can actually help us recognize that feeling of coming back to ourselves. And they help you actually experience it. This is Breeder. And look at the bird flying above her. It's kind of like a Lord of the Rings moment there. Moments like that can take your breath away and your nervous system feels it and relaxes. But a lot of this personal development, I do coaching online. And even that, even though we tune into the body, it can stay in the mind. But real time in this spot with Breeder, your body, your real-time experience, your felt sense, and her immediate feedback to you, physical real-time, is going to teach you a lot at a physical level that your body actually remembers and takes home. So it's taking your nervous system to the gym, recognizing it and doing the reps. So this is a rock under a tree out on the property. And getting to know, what does it feel like to lay there? And for some people, maybe it's a little scary. It's in the jungle. Great, get to know that. For some people like here, it's really relaxing. But you're going to notice your state with our guidance, with the horse's guidance, and learn to stay present as you notice, well, maybe this is a bit uncomfortable. But maybe I can be present with myself. Maybe I can feel the emotion. Maybe I can let myself shed a few tears, or laugh out loud with joy, and not worry about drowning them, to move through the emotions and pause before reacting, to learn about myself so that I can create safety. We're always talking about safety and connection, safety and connection. Number one thing a horse wants to feel is safe, and they feel safer with other horses around or with safe humans around. So safety and connection go hand in hand. And if I know what feels like safety, what feels like good connection to me, and I can create that or recreate that, or notice when I'm not there and know that I need some extra support for myself through it, rather than judging myself and just pushing harder, which is continuing the pattern and the habit and the loop. This is doing reps on the nervous system, going to the gym of how to go back to grazing again and again and again, so that you have a roadmap and a compass. Because many of us never knew what regulation felt like in our bodies. I certainly did not. I didn't know what regulation was. I didn't really even know I had a nervous system. And now I'm still learning and still catching myself, because the goal is not just to be, over it. The goal is to build a resilient and flexible nervous system. I still go to the gym or move around to keep that muscle, to keep that neural pathway, that accessibility to go back to grazing. So what we're supporting you to do is to build a roadmap of your own system, because your system is different to mine, as it should be. They're created through our experiences and our architecture that we have in our bodies, and to have a compass so that I can start navigating it and build self-awareness and self-trust, because the goal is not perfection. The goal is knowing how to come back to grazing, to come home to yourself again and again. And this is Ria. And I want you to sit with a question for a moment. So the question is, who are you when you come home to yourself? And I used to think this was kind of woo-woo language, like coming home to myself. It was something that other people said. And now I understand, or what I understand by it, is coming home to myself is connecting all parts of me. So it's connecting my thoughts, my body, my feelings, and that being okay, that all of those things are showing up for me. So I can be a safe place for myself. I can be at home in myself. And I wouldn't have found it without horses, and I still feel it more around horses. When I need some self-trust or self-acceptance, I go to horses, Because a horse comes, this Rhea comes and stands with me, and I feel accepted and I feel connected and I feel safe. I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I'm not so bad. Maybe I can trust myself or accept myself a little bit more, because I trust Rhea and she seems to think I'm okay. And they show me exactly as I am what's happening, and I'm still a work in progress. But now I know what it means to come home to myself, and I know how it feels, and I know how to find my way back. Now it may take me a while, depending on the situation. So who are you when you come home to yourself? What does it feel like? What would be different? Again, you can write it down, you can think about it for a second, you can put it in the chat, you can raise your hand. And what comes up? And maybe that language gives you a reaction like, oof, no, I don't like the sound of that. Great information. Noticing your nervous system reaction. Not good, not bad, not right, not wrong. So why Tula Vida helps? Just as modern life makes regulation harder, a place like this makes it easier. We're very fortunate to live in an absolutely stunning place with a lot of nature around. And as we talked about before, nature is signaling safety biologically. The natural sounds, the horses grazing, the lack of bombardment of daily life without noise and urgency, etc. All cues your system to feel better. And awe and wonder, like looking at this sunset or a beautiful horse, is incredibly powerful actually in the nervous system, and we need it. It's missing in some ways, like, oh my God, this flower, or this bird or this sunset gives your nervous system a whole flush of different energy, and your system will remember it. Your brain may not, but if you've been here and seen a sunset like this, just looking at the picture, you can take yourself back there, and your nervous system can recreate that feeling. So we talk about stepping back in time coming here and letting the land support you. We have rainbows and fresh food and wildlife and views and great hiking. And when you arrive here, even the moment you arrive, something shifts. Actually, I was talking about this with Shirley, somebody who works here, even in Costa Rica, even before Tula Vida, because there's so much stimulus that just sends signals of safety to your nervous system, all this nature, and you arrive here and then you add in the horses, and the place itself is part of the teaching. So 85 acres and 17 horses, you've got a lot of good teachers here and a lot of time to actually be and learn that way. And for those of you who haven't seen it, we really designed the rooms with nervous systems in mind. So you've got strong, solid, comfortable human spaces, good mattresses, good showers, good food, with all the open space and beautiful greenery, and you're not roughing it, but you also get to go out into nature, into the wilds with the horses. In the moments of magic, this is Galan, who does actually come and visit you in your cabin, and Minna in the background. Lots and lots of things. They're different for everybody, what will happen on retreat, but something extraordinary happens every single time. So awareness is the key. If I notice, I can choose. If I'm not aware of what's happening in my nervous system, I can't choose my response. I'm just in my reactions. But the more I know about it, the more I can actually choose to take a deep breath or stand up and stretch or shift my focus onto something else. And on retreat here, you can find those feelings, get to know the feelings that you're looking for, and then take them home and practice it. And the horses will help you recognize what you're looking for, because then you can keep going back to it long after you leave, that compass. And some people come back, like, I want to go deeper. Looking at some of you here who've been a few times, I want to go back to the gym for an intensive so that when I go home, the reps feel a little bit easier again. And also joining this presentation, looking at the slides, reconnecting with it through this is doing that. Your nervous system's taking it in. So, a little closing reflection with Mo, looking at a volcano here. It's not about being calm all the time or becoming somebody else or being any different or judging yourself. It's about learning how to reconnect, how to become aware of all the things going on with you, because a resilient nervous system is not one that never activates. You would not want that. You want to survive and get away from danger. It's one that knows how to come home again. And in the next presentation webinar that we do, we'll talk about mindset or creating more awareness, or what some of the survival responses look like a bit more deeply. But if you're curious and you haven't been here, or even if you have, feel free to book a call with me. There's a link to book a call and just talk about questions or what we do here or what you might want to do here. And I actually had just before we jumped on here, we had somebody who left on, when did the retreat finish? On Wednesday. And she left a review today on We Travel this morning. So I thought I would share it with you. I had the most transformative and soul affirming experience at Tula Vida. The retreat that she did was called Connecting to the Well Within. She said, words fail to capture the magic of the land, horses, people, cooks and ranch hands, and of course Sally and Eric, and the inviting accommodations. I left feeling the most regulated in my nervous system that I have in my entire life, and with tools and felt experience to bring it home. I felt safe and supported and nourished in every sense in each moment, and it allowed me to do the deep work of healing. Thank you to Tula Vida, and I encourage everyone to book their spot or set up a call with Sally. So her journey started on a call with me, and so I thought I would just add in her words to this reflection, as you see fish here looking down over the property. And a quick snapshot of retreats coming up. We do our own retreats, like 2-day taster, my personal retreat in Connecting to the Well Within, the ones you see at the top in the felt sense of being. Those are Tula Vida retreats that happen kind of on a regular basis. The 2-day taster is something I've just added in for people who want to come and kind of really just have a quick dive, maybe as part of a longer trip to Costa Rica, into what we do rather than a full retreat. But we also co-facilitate with some amazing other co-hosts, and you'll find all of these on our website, and there's lots more coming up and getting added in. So watch this space or look at our website if you want to see the details, or book a call with me. Okay, so that's us for now. But I want to open up to any questions. If you want to raise your hand or type anything in the chat, I'll allow a minute for that, and then I'll go out and show you the herd. But I've kind of cantered through a lot of nervous system information in quite a short period of time. I can answer these questions on the slide. You do not need horse experience. Most people don't know what they need when they come. They just come and receive something. Trisha, I saw you unmuted yourself. Hi.
Hi. No, I was there in March, and it was part of a bigger retreat, but it was amazing experience.
Let me move you over here so I can look at you. Yes, good to see you on there. Thank you for sharing that. Anything spark for you as you were watching through this, a memory or a new insight?
I think it was Itana that was my
Yes,
horse,
that's right.
and just such a gift to have that big of an experience. And I would love to be there to this presentation let me know that was a snapshot. And I think there's much more that could be built out from that experience. And so it does seem like to put in a few days is lovely to have those moments where they're sitting with you as you access feelings that you have maybe not accessed in a long time. And also, what you were talking about is understanding who you are when you come home. So, what is that like to be in a regulated state? Um, and you really did such a great job of taking the nervous system, which is, with the polyvagal theory and everything else, it's just hard to put it all together, and you put it together. And then big piece of it is knowing what it feels like when you are comfortable and regulated and being able to come back to that. So you just took a big subject and really tackled it beautifully. And I can see how having a couple of days around this would really be amazing. Not one little couple hours. It just really, for me, it really, I wanted to pop in and let you know that. And you are amazing. Very memorable, your ease. And I love that you weren't born with ease. You put some snippets in there that this is something you've been able to develop, which gives hope to the rest of us who are maybe not born that way and are looking to achieve that. So thank you.
Thank you, Trisha. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and you kind of came for a short time and dived in deep and had that like, ooh, wow, what is this? And I love how you were emphasizing it is building that place of home to come back to. We can focus on why do we get anxious or why do we get dysregulated or why do, and force myself back. But actually, where am I going and why?
Yeah.
And how can I soak in that feeling? Because then my system wants to go back there and knows where they're
Mhm.
trying to head
Mhm.
to.
Mhm.
And that can be a huge, huge piece. In this place, I mean, the reason I live here is for my nervous system, frankly, because it just supports that. I mean, Costa Rica and the other experiences you had too, but particularly the horses of like, here it is again and again, here it is, here it is. So, yeah, thank you so much for that and for sharing that.
Thank you.
I'm going to transfer to my phone and take you outside. So we're actually doing some work on the barn over there. So all the horses are out down here. And I asked them to be in view for you guys at this hour. Oh, yeah, they listened. Oh, they're all down there. How nice. So let me turn my camera around. And I can turn it this way. And then we can zoom in. So you have Hitana, we were just talking about, and Cosmo. And you can observe them and notice they're grazing. They're very much in sync with their body language and relaxed. There's some birds around them. They're not moving very much, but when a horse has their head down and is grazing, you know they feel very safe, because otherwise they would be looking around and kind of worrying about it a bit more. And then as we come over here, you guys get a taster of the round pen. Here is the rest of this herd. They're all gathered here just for you. So again, a real moment of peace and connection. So they're standing together. It's very connecting for horses to stand, sharing space. They're often not touching each other. You can see Minna, the black horse, the closest to the camera, and then the brown and white horse to the right of him is Imperio, and then there's Beauty. Beauty's the horse that I was talking about. Yes, he totally changed my life and still does. Okay. And the white horse next to her is Susie, and then there's a black horse the other side of her, Galan, and then there's a little brown and white face is Roncador. So you can see Beauty swishing her tail a little bit, but look at this stillness and this peace. And actually, this is where we work with the horses in the round pen, and we sit under the shelter or out in the field. So imagine just sitting there. Maybe, let me see if I can point with my finger a little bit. So you got 3 volcanoes in the background, and this is kind of a hill. So imagine sitting here, and you'll have some horses grazing over here, and then you're just looking down on the pond and the volcanoes and the other horses. I don't know if you guys can hear the bird song because I've got my headphones in. Just watching them. And imagine maybe if one came over and started grazing next to you.
There's this huge sense of peace. I'm actually going to take my headphones out so that you can hear the birds singing, I think. Oh, she says.
You guys hear the birds? So take a big deep breath out. Our nervous systems actually respond to images and videos as well as presence. So give your nervous system just a little 30 seconds of green. Nothing to do, nowhere to be, just watching some horses hanging out together. You can see Hitana has turned to face this way, and Cosmo too. They do pick up on when we're paying attention to them and when we're filming them. We talk a lot about horses being very aware of their environments and their presence, and I'm sure they felt as well as saw me arrive in their peaceful zone. Now Hitana's grazing towards us. And it looks like the wisdom or the advice from the rest of the herd for everyone on the call is it's nap time. Take a little break. So I'm conscious of the time, but yeah, if anyone feels like they need to come and sit here, as I do every morning, then feel free to book a call. Really nice to see you all and see all of you again, some of you again. And yeah, we're going to do another sort of part 2 on nervous systems, I think will be the next one. And you know where we are in the meantime. So have a beautiful Friday and a beautiful weekend.